They killed the mermaid for her gold. They did not listen to the warnings. Now, the river they need to live wants them to die. In a small village in Nigeria called Uzoma Village, there was a girl named Kemi. Kemi loved the river more than anything. The river was not just water to her. It was a friend. It gave the village everything they needed. It gave them water to drink and to cook. It gave them fish to eat. It was a place where the children played and the women washed clothes. The river was the heart of the village, and its beat was the sound of the flowing water. Kemi had a secret. She had seen the guardian of the river. It was a mermaid named Zola. Zola was more beautiful than anything Kemi had ever seen. Her skin was dark and smooth like the night sky. Her hair was long and moved like soft seaweed. And her tail was covered in scales that shimmered with the color of gold and sunlight. Sometimes, when Kemi was alone, she would see Zola resting on a big, flat rock in the middle of the river. Zola would never speak, but she would smile at Kemi. Her eyes were kind and deep, like the oldest part of the river. Kemi knew that the river was happy and full of life because Zola was there, watching over it. The old people in the village always told stories about Mami Wata, the great mother of the waters. They said to always respect the river, for Mami Wata's heart was the heart of the water itself. One sunny afternoon, two men came to the village. Their names were Tund and Bayo. They were from the big city, and they wore nice clothes and talked fast. They said they were scientists who had come to study the water. But they were not scientists. They were greedy men. In the city, they had heard a story from a traveler about a village with a river that had gold in it. That night, they sat with the village elders, sharing palm wine. One of the elders, feeling happy from the wine, told an old story about a beautiful water spirit with skin of gold. Tund and Bayo looked at each other. Their eyes sparkled with a bad light. It was the light of greed. The next day, Tund and Bayo went down to the riverbank. They hid behind the tall elephant grass and watched. And then they saw her. Zola the mermaid was lying on her favorite rock, letting the sun dry her golden scales. The scales glittered so brightly that it hurt their eyes. "It is real gold," whispered Tund, his voice shaking with excitement. "If we get those scales, we will be rich men. We will never have to work again." Bayo grinned a nasty grin. They made a plan. They would use a strong fishing net to catch the mermaid when she came to her rock the next evening. Kemi felt a knot in her stomach all day. Something felt wrong. The air was too still. The river seemed quieter than usual. When she saw the two men from the city walking towards the river with a big, rolled-up net, her heart started to beat very fast. She quietly followed them, hiding behind trees and bushes. She saw them set up the net in the water near the mermaid's rock. They hid in the grass and waited. Kemi hid too, her hands covering her mouth to keep from making a sound. As the moon rose, Zola appeared. She swam to her rock and pulled herself onto it. The moment she was out of the water, Tund and Bayo jumped out. They pulled the ropes, and the net flew up from the water, wrapping around Zola like a cage. She let out a cry that was not a human sound. It was a sound of water and sorrow. She struggled, her powerful tail slapping against the rock. Her sad, kind eyes scanned the riverbank and found Kemi hiding in the bushes. For 1 second, their eyes met. Kemi saw the pain and the betrayal in Zola's look. "Just take a few scales and let her go." Kemi wanted to shout, but she was too scared. Tund and Bayo were not patient. They wanted all the gold, and they wanted it fast. Bayo took out a big knife. He did not carefully remove the scales. Instead, with a cruel and quick movement, he hurt Zola badly. The mermaid stopped moving. Her light went out. As Zola died, a single tear fell from her eye. But it was not a tear of water. It was a tear of silver blood. The drop of silver blood fell into the river. Where it touched the water, the clear blue turned into a soft, shimmering pink, like a beautiful sunset. Tund and Bayo did not care. They quickly gathered all the golden scales from Zola's tail, stuffing them into a big bag. They looked at the pink water, laughed a nervous laugh, and ran away into the night, leaving Zola's body behind. Kemi ran out from her hiding place. She fell to her knees beside the mermaid, crying. But Zola was gone. The river felt cold and sad. The next morning, the village woke up to screams. Kemi ran to her window and her blood ran cold. The river was red. A deep, dark blood red. It was not muddy. The water was clear, but it was the color of a fresh wound. It flowed red as far as the eye could see. People gathered at the bank, scared and confused. The men tried to fetch water, but it came out red. The women put their hands in the water and pulled them out quickly. The water was ice cold and felt angry. There were no fish. The river, the life of the village, was dead. And it was bleeding. Panic spread through Uzoma village like a fire. Without the river, there was no water to drink. People became thirsty. There were no fish to eat. People became hungry. The children could not play. The air was filled with the sound of crying babies and worried adults. The village chief called for a meeting under the big iroko tree. "What has happened to our river?" he asked, his voice tired and sad. Then, the oldest woman in the village, Mama Nkechi, stood up. Her back was bent, but her eyes were sharp. "This is not a sickness of the water," she said, her voice strong. "This is a sickness of the heart. Mami Wata is angry. Someone has done a great evil to her child, to a spirit of the water. Until we confess this evil and make it right, the river will not heal." At that moment, Kemi found her courage. She stepped into the middle of the circle, her small body shaking. She told everyone everything. She told them about seeing Zola. She told them about Tund and Bayo's trap. She told them about the knife, and the silver tear, and the bag of golden scales. The village was silent. Then, the silence broke into a roar of anger. The strongest men in the village took their machetes and ran to find Tund and Bayo. They found them in the next town, sitting in a bar. They were trying to sell the golden scales. But a strange thing had happened. The scales, which had shone so brightly, were now dull and dark. They looked like dirty, old metal. No one wanted to buy them. The village men surrounded Tund and Bayo. They grabbed them and tied their hands with rope. "You are coming back to Uzoma," they said. "You will see what your greed has done." They dragged the two frightened men back to the village. When Tund and Bayo saw the blood-red river, their faces turned white with fear. The villagers shouted at them, calling them murderers. The chief decided they would be kept tied up by the riverbank so they could see the problem they had created. That night, as the full moon shone on the red water, something strange began to happen. The river started to make a sound, a low hum like a song of anger. Then, the red water at the edge of the bank began to move. It did not flow. It rose up, forming itself into shapes that looked like long, watery arms and hands. The villagers watched from a distance, too scared to move. The watery hands reached out from the river. They slid over the sand towards Tund and Bayo. The two men saw the hands coming and screamed. They tried to scramble away, but their ropes were too tight. The cold, red water hands wrapped around their ankles. Then their legs. The hands pulled them, slowly and surely, towards the red river. Tund and Bayo screamed for help, but no one moved. They were pulled into the red water. There was a splash, and then a gurgle. And then silence. The river was calm again. Tund and Bayo were gone. The river had taken its revenge. But the river was still red. The village was still suffering. Mama Nkechi spoke again. "Mami Wata's anger is deep. Taking the guilty men was only the first step. The village itself must show it is sorry. We must show we respect the river again." So, the very next day, the whole village started to work. Led by Kemi, they went to the riverbanks. They did not take from the river. They gave to it. They picked up all the trash. They cleaned the dirty areas. They planted beautiful flowers and strong young trees along the banks to keep the soil healthy. They did not use the red water. They brought water from a faraway well to water the new plants. And as they worked, they sang. They sang old songs their grandparents had taught them, songs to praise the water and the earth. They sang songs of apology to Mami Wata. Kemi had an idea. She found the bag of dull, golden scales that Tund and Bayo had left behind. She brought it to the riverbank. One by one, she threw each scale back into the red water. Each scale was an offering. Each scale was a way of saying, "We are sorry. We return what was stolen." The other villagers watched, and then they joined her, throwing the last of the scales into the river. As the final scales sank into the red water, a cool wind blew. The sky, which had been clear and hot, began to fill with soft, gray clouds. Then, it started to rain. But it was not a normal storm. It was a gentle, cleansing rain that fell only on Uzoma village and the land around the Red River. The rain washed the leaves of the trees. It washed the roofs of the houses. It felt warm and kind. The rain fell into the Red River. And as it did, a miracle happened. The deep red color began to fade. It slowly mixed with the clean rainwater, becoming lighter and lighter. From red, it turned to pink. From pink, it turned to a clear, sparkling blue. The river was clean again. The water was pure. The fish came back, jumping and splashing as if they were happy to be home. The village erupted in joy. People laughed and danced in the rain, drinking the clean water from their hands. When the rain stopped and the sun came out, Kemi went to the riverbank. She looked at the water, now clear and beautiful once more. And then, she saw something. A head popped up from the water. It was a young mermaid, with skin as dark as Kemi's and a tail covered in shimmering silver scales. The new mermaid smiled shyly at Kemi, waved a small hand, and then dove back into the deep. Kemi smiled. The guardian was back. Mami Wata had forgiven them. The heart of the village was beating again. The lesson we learn. Greed is a poison. When we are greedy and take things that are not ours, especially from nature, we hurt the world that gives us life. We must always protect and respect the water, the land, and all living things. If we care for nature, nature will care for us. Did this story of Mami Wata's revenge send chills down your spine? If you were hooked from the first sentence to the last, please like and share this story with your friends and family. Let everyone know the importance of respecting nature. Comment below with what you think the golden scales turned into after the river took them back.